Stronger.
And now, this is News Views, a newscast for Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and the world. This is Bill Ratner speaking. And now, Michael Badger.
Good evening, I'm Michael Badger. Stay tuned now for part 2 of our continuation from last week of Tim Johnson's press conference from Thursday the 6th, was it? Okay, I think.
What's the time frame for naming for the chairman to name your successor?
Good question, Jim. By the way, one of the great regrets I have is I won't be able to keep my apartment in Litchfield anymore.
I heard you were leaving because you didn't want to spend another night in Litchfield.
That's only because the Dye family isn't as active as they used to be. And the Cool family too, right, Dave? The timetable, and Mark can address this, but as I understand it, the results of the primary will be certified 30 days, I believe, or 28, regardless.
They'll be certified
on the 20th of April. And at that point, the county chairman, I suppose, will be formally notified, although I certainly am sending informal notification right now, and ask them to convene. They will then cast a weighted vote. I don't think there's any specific limitation in how long they have to do it, but as a practical matter, I would think within a matter of relatively short time after the 20th, they'll choose and cast a weighted vote, and continue to vote until a nominee is chosen.
Did you talk to any party leaders about this before?
If I can, let me just let everybody ask one question, then we'll get back to you. Yeah, Ralph.
I don't have a question, but from the other side of the aisle, I would like to say that your withdrawal statement was well spoken.
Well, thank you, Ralph. I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for your friendship. I know I see Ralph quite often at Lincoln Square, and member of the county board, and you're a good man, and I'm very grateful for that. You know, I want to point out one thing. I'm a proud Republican. Don't back off of that. But I have strong relationships with both Democrats and independents. I'm proud to be chairman of the Center Aisle Caucus, and my friendships are far beyond my party. And I hope that as time continues, that will continue to grow. And one of the wonderful things about having represented this many people and been what I think is a fairly hands-on legislator is that I have developed terrific relationship with people like Carl here, who doesn't see eye to eye with me on every issue, but does on other things. And then likewise with Jim McGuire, who agrees with me about 75% of the time. So I just grateful for it all. And I got to tell you, looking back, despite the emotions, I'm absolutely convinced I'm making the right decision, but I'm also absolutely convinced that I did the right thing by spending 44 years in public service, and I will never, never regret a moment of that service.
Congressman, do you feel there's enough time between now and November for someone else to get a campaign together and run successfully against Mr. Gill?
I'm going to say this charitably with respect to Mr. Gill. He's an honorable man, but he's run against me 3 other times. I think the last time I beat him 2-1, 65 or 66%. He was apparently not the choice of the Democratic Party, given its direction, or at least of the Democratic Party in Washington. The Democratic Party at home apparently chose him. And the reality is that while I respect him as an honorable person who really believes things firmly, I don't think his viewpoints represent the mainstream views of the people of this district, and I'm convinced that whoever the choice is of the Republican Party will win overwhelmingly.
Will you insist that your successor continue your policy of voting against funding for war in the Middle East?
Good question, Carl. I am going to do everything I can to encourage whoever takes my position on the ballot to understand that we have cost over 100,000 lives, tens of thousands of American men and women, trillions of dollars in a war that can never, or wars, multiple wars, illegal wars that can never be won. And while I can't tell somebody what to believe and what not to, and while I don't have a litmus test, I am certainly going to tell them that it is my strong belief that Iraq Afghanistan and its progeny have been a catastrophic mistake, and we need to terminate that mistake ASAP.
What did you do?
Strong supporter of Israel. Ehud, you know that. And that will continue. And my hope and expectation is that whoever assumes my position on the ballot will have that same position. I'm also hopeful now that we'll be able to spend more time at the Courier together tonight, when we haven't done that for a month and a half, and I'm looking forward to it in the very near future. Yes, sir.
We first met in a farm field in 1976 when you were first running.
Running for the State House.
And I thank you for your years of service. And I have just one question. Now that you have decided to retire, can you give an assessment of what the overall dysfunction of the Congress is?
I have, in my 44 years of serving in office, I've never seen a more dysfunctional state of affairs than exists in Congress, or quite frankly, Jason, with all due respect, the state legislature right now. I have never seen the public more angry at their public servants, and with good reason. I think we have become so bogged down and controlled by partisanship and anger and nastiness that the system is almost, it's not irredeemable, but it's certainly trending towards irredeemability. And I think we need to turn that around. And I think that the level of the gentleman asked the question here earlier. I'm not leaving for any other reason other than my family, but I've got to tell you that it has reached a pinnacle, and I think the American people are fed up. And quite frankly, there are going to be a lot of incumbent members of Congress and some incumbent members of the state legislature who are going to wake up the day after the election in November and say, what happened? And what happened is that they didn't understand that the American people are angry and they're fed up and they want to change. And if politicians don't sincerely reflect that desire on the part of the people, sincerely reflect, I mean, everybody can run an ad and say, we all want to get along with each other and kumbaya, but actually act on it, then I think they're going to suffer the consequences, and they damn well should.
Let's take two more questions.
I know this is pretty far ahead. Have you thought about possibly leaving early, right after the election, or is that?
No, I'm not going to. Number one, I have an obligation to the people who elected me to serve through January. Number two, there would have to be a special election, and that would just confuse things. If I left in May or June, Congress, just for your the civics class, by the way, Blake and and everybody, Congress is the only position in the United States, the House is the only position to which you have to be elected. You cannot be appointed. So if I left next month, there would have to be a special election in July, and that would cost a lot of money to the taxpayers, and it would confuse people incredibly, so I'm not going to do that. I did that when I was elected to Congress. I left early. Tom Burns was able to get one more term of seniority, and he did a good job, and it worked out fine, but you can't do this here.
What is the first point that you can recall when you said some of this out loud? I think I might leave. And did you say it to someone like Jerry Clark or some? Or
no, I didn't say that. I said it. Buzz and I were in Bloomington. We'd already filed petitions, all raring to go, and I was going to take. Well, actually, you weren't going to go, Pete, because you were already in bed. But where's Jarrett? I think we asked Owen and Chloe. Go back there, to go to the Festival of Lights with me down in Lake Shelbyville. It's a great thing. It's just a lot of fun to go to, see all the snowman and everything else. And I was all gearing up, ready to go. They were looking forward to it. We had Christmas music and everything else. And then we got a call from D.C. that said we have to go back for this idiotic vote that we should have cast before, in which I deviated from my party on unemployment extension. It was a good issue. We should have voted for it, but then we had to go back and vote again. And then I had to leave. We didn't go to the Festival of Lights, and I started thinking, man, there's more to life than this. And then as time progresses, Owen asked me when I was coming to a baseball game. My daughter Carrie and Corey are up in Chicago, asked if I was ever going to come up and see him, and I've seen Dylan for a grand total of 10 minutes. And Buzz is getting married, and it's just a culmination of things. And then one particular issue, which is personal, but that's regardless, culminated, and I said, this is time to do it. 3 more years could be 50% of the rest of my life. And at this point, at 66, there's a few people in here pretty close to my age. you realize that your time is maybe not limited in a specific way, but limited in a generic way, and I have to go on with it. But I want to emphasize, I'm not retiring from life, folks. I'm going to continue to be active in public affairs. I want to continue to talk about them. Maybe a little part-time teaching, but I want to be able to devote time to these folks back here and be able to smell the coffee. And I think I can do them all responsibly, and I'm going to enjoy things. I'm not going to go home and spend 24 hours a day watching soap operas. I'm going to continue to be active in things the way I think people would expect me to be, and that will continue. Well, let's do 2 more questions, then I have to say no, and we're going to let Mark and Phil and the rest of the folks entertain further questions. Yes, sir.
What's the proudest moment of your tenure as Congressman?
You know, that is a good question. That wasn't a setup either, but actually, for people who always are critical of me or anybody else for no specific bills, Mark has a list of bills that I've actually sponsored that have become law. We just don't send out press releases about them all the time. But I can't point to any one of those things. I think the single proudest thing that I can look back on is, this is thanks to Joan and Mark and Phil and our offices for, for that matter, for 36 years. It's hopefully the legacy of the fact that there is a real face associated with real public service, so that when people in 22 counties didn't get a Social Security disability claim, I know this is kind of boring, but it's true, and they couldn't get their VA benefits when they came back from a war that we shouldn't be in, or couldn't get their farms, and Kevin Johnson's here, couldn't get their farm service check worked out right, or needed a bridge from Mount Carmel to Princeton. I was there for them. And I think that in an era when politics is removed from the people, when everything's about money, when everything's about the next soundbite, when everything's about the next commercial, the legacy and the thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that I think, even for people who didn't like me, even for people who didn't agree with me, that they knew they could talk to me, that I was a real live person. And I think that's the greatest legacy you can leave. Unfortunately, in doing that, I know some of my constituents better than I know some of my grandchildren, and that's going to change.
Actually, if I could just make sure we're totally clear on this. So you have made the same decision you made in the same exact time frame you made if Matt Gettin had won the Democratic nomination?
Absolutely. Absolutely the same decision no matter who won the election. All I'm saying with respect to Dr. Gill is that, with all due respect to Dr. Gill, I think most people would understand that I've won 3 other elections against him, and that from the standpoint of the future of the party, of the future of the district, it's probably going to be a bit easier to take on that challenge than it would have been Matt Gettin. But Matt Gettin, who I've never met, was apparently not the choice of the grassroots people of the Democratic Party. Dr. Gill was. He won, and the rest is history. But the decision would have been made exactly the same way. Matt Gettin, David Gill, and with all due respect, Phil Bloomer and Mark Sheldon are not my family, although they become that. This is my family, and this is the decision. And any attempt to attribute anything other than 100% what's behind me right now is absolutely wrong. That's my decision.
It's a good way to end.
It's a good way to end. Thank you. Keep in touch.
And according to MarketWatch.com from the Wall Street Journal, the University of Illinois has renewed its 31-year partnership with Passalon. That's the leading provider of ticketing, marketing, and fundraising solutions in college athletics, they say. And they announced their partnership renewal with the University of Illinois on April 12th. And their partnership includes now the Assembly Hall. The university will also be using them for one of the things that holds the green screen just popped off for the chroma key. That's also Memorial Stadium, and they've been working with Passalon since 1981. And Illinois is the company's 4th customer. They say, quote, "We are very pleased to continue our long-term association with Passalon. I don't know how to pronounce it, really." Said Mike Thomas, that they're proud, Director of Athletics for the University of Illinois. That's who said that. And, quote, "The cutting-edge technology and great customer service has been a terrific asset in our relationship with our fans. We are excited about the digital ticketing aspect of the partnership, which will efficiently streamline our ticketing process and provide better service to our customers," unquote. By adding Passalon's access management for football at Memorial Stadium and Assembly Hall, Illinois will learn who attended which games, events, and identify what tickets were used, and tailor marketing messages and offers based on attendance patterns. They say online ticket sales have helped them gain more visibility. They also say the integration of donor component and ticketing is a huge benefit and really allows them to operate as a solid, cohesive organization, said Hedgemeyer. And Passalon was founded in 1980 and is the leading venue establishment powering ticketing, fundraising, and marketing technology solutions for leading organizations across North America. Collectively, they say Passalon powers over 500 live entertainment organizations that sell over 100 million tickets annually. Primary markets includes college athletics, professional sports, performing arts, arenas and museums, and Passalon is a wholly owned subsidiary of Comcast Spectacor. Yeah, Comcast Spectacor. They're a Philadelphia-based sports and entertainment company that owns the Philadelphia Flyers, the hockey team, and the home arena for both the Flyers and NBA's Philadelphia 76ers, the Wells Fargo Center, and 4 Flyers skate zone community ice skating and hockey rinks. They are also the principal owner of Global Spectrum, the fastest growing firm in public assembly management. And they have more than 100 facilities throughout the United States and Canada. Also, Ovations Food Services, a food and beverage service provider. New Era Tickets, which is a ticketing and marketing company for public assembly facilities. Front Row Marketing Services, which is a commercial rights sales company. Fan One, a digital fan marketing company. And Passalon, which is the leading provider of venue establishment ticketing, venue enablement, ticketing, fundraising, and marketing technology solutions. And stay tuned for the weather.
Code 405.
Transmission lock 3, 2, 1.
And here's your News View weather for Friday night through Sunday night. Friday night, thunderstorms likely with a low Friday night of 54 degrees Fahrenheit, 50% pop. Saturday, thunderstorms, 70% pop, high 72. Saturday night, 50% pop, thunderstorms, low 61. Sunday, high temperature will be at 75 degrees, 60% pop, thunderstorms likely, and Sunday night, low 58 degrees Fahrenheit with thunderstorms likely. I'm Michael Badger, and this has been your News View weather for Central Illinois this weekend.